Emergency funds are the backbone of strong personal financial plans. Learn why you need an emergency savings, where to put the money, and how much you actually need. The recent events of the snowpocalypse in Texas and Oklahoma, alongside with the C-19 pandemic, have brought forth a few lessons on what we can learn about having an emergency fund and being well prepared for situations like this. In this video, I'm going to be going over what is an emergency fund, how big should your emergency fund be, why you need an emergency fund, and how to free up money to build your emergency fund faster. What's up, my sexy McMuffins? Tyson Dela Cruz here. Thank you so much for joining me. Managing a budget can be stressful, especially if you have unexpected emergencies pop up. Fortunately, there's a way you can prepare for unexpected financial emergencies. By building up a savings buffer called an emergency fund, you can be prepared to pay for unexpected emergencies without having to turn to credit card debt, family loans, or borrowing options that create unnecessary stress and anxiety. While an emergency fund won't solve all your money problems, it's a great start getting your finances heading in the right direction. Before we break down exactly what an emergency fund is, let's define what an emergency fund is not. It's not used for planned purchases like a house, a car, college education, so on and so forth. It does not have to be a large, unattainable amount. It can actually start small, and that's the best place to start. And keep in mind, it's not a set amount for everyone. It varies based on your lifestyle from person to person. An emergency fund is money you set aside for when emergencies turn your world upside down and you need money. You need money fast. An emergency fund gives you a peace of mind to know that should something truly awful happen, such as losing a job, you can worry about how to deal with the emergency itself and not worry about how you're going to survive financially. The question arises, how big should someone's emergency fund actually be? While a person's emergency funds will vary from situation to situation, most financial experts agree that a fully stocked emergency fund should hold between anywhere from 3 to 8 months worth of monthly expenses. My man Dave Ramsey prefers 3 to 6 months of expenses, while Susan Orman prefers 8 months of expenses in a fully stocked emergency fund. However, you don't need to stress about saving 3 to 8 months worth of expenses overnight. That's headache. Just get started, and get started small. Starting with a small emergency fund of anywhere from $500 to $1,500 at first is a great step towards building a fully stocked emergency fund. This smaller goal is much easier to reach and allows you to feel accomplished once you reach this goal. And it's an awesome milestone for your finances. Once you've established a small emergency fund, you can handle life's small emergencies without going back into debt. This allows you to focus on growing momentum when it comes to saving rather than switching back to the focus on paying off debt accrued by those small emergencies. The important thing to remember is never live above your means. Stay frugal, be aware of your spending habits, regardless on how much money you make. Determining your monthly expenses. While monthly expenses will vary from person to person, you're basically ensuring that you can continue to live your life without bringing any income. Some people make sure that their emergency fund can cover luxuries, while others stick to more bare bones necessities. Emergency funds that can provide enough money to pay your monthly bills. It's ultimately up to you to decide which monthly expense number you want to use. But I suggest picking a comfortable number that won't make you feel stressed out should you suddenly find yourself needing to make cuts in your personal or professional budget. Take the average amount of expenses and multiply that by the number of months that you wish to save for. Now that you understand what an emergency fund is, you may be thinking they're great for other people, but you don't really need one right now. You may think that your job is secure, or you're in a high demand field in which you could quickly find yourself a new job. You may think using a credit card is good enough for an emergency fund, because you could always use a credit card with 0% introductory APR on a balance transfer until you pay off the debt. Unfortunately, everyone will likely face at least one financial emergency in their life. Here are a few examples that might help you change your mind to get you started on saving for an emergency fund today. Just maybe you lose your income a pandemic occurs, medical emergency, a snowpocalypse like what's going on in Texas or Oklahoma. Maybe there's a child or pet emergency. Financial emergencies are unexpected major expenses that require you to use money, and use money immediately. In order to be considered an emergency, these expenses must be related to preserving your financial future, your health, or your assets. Now, how do we free up money to invest in emergency fund? Something that you could do is cut your expenses. First, you can cut your expenses and save the money that you cut out of your budget. Easy wins to help you save money include cutting back on the number of times that you eat out each month. Perhaps negotiate your cable bill, your cell phone bill, or other reoccurring monthly bills, as well as temporarily cutting back on entertainment and other luxury expenses until your emergency fund reaches a healthy balance again. Another thing that we can do is bank all windfalls. If you don't want to or can't cut your expenses any further, you can focus on using surprise or found money solely to add to your emergency fund. Typical sources of found money are tax refunds, bonuses from work, money from selling household items you no longer need, and money you receive as gifts. Another great tool to expedite the monies in the emergency fund is you can sell things you no longer use. Deposit any available cash you have or money you can earn from selling those things around the house that you no longer use. You can sell the items locally on Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, or you could sell the things online through places like eBay. Put your money in a high-end yield account. Keeping your emergency fund in a high-end yield savings account or money market account. This way you have almost instant access to the money when you need it. Available cash on hand is absolutely key when things like this happen. If you don't have an emergency fund right now, you need to start building one today. Open up a savings or money market account at Discover and make your first deposit today. Work to cut your expenses, save found money, build extra income streams to build your emergency fund as fast as possible. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and smash that like button down below. As always, be kind, rewind. Peace.